We're now ready to begin our special board meeting for the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. May I have a roll call, Mr. Baptiste? Here.
Mr. Anderson,
Here.
Miss Beverly Raymond, Mr. Christopher Smith,
Here.
Mr. Rashad Harris,
Here.
Miss Katrina Frank, Mr. Jerry LeBeau, Miss Rhonda Connors. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Mr. Smith, will you give us the invitation, please?
Yes. Everybody. Heavenly Father, we come here today. Want to say thank you for all the grace and all the mercy you bestow on us every day, every minute of the day. We ask that you guide our thoughts, our actions, and our intent for around the citizens of Port Arthur, and that we're here to do the business for the citizens of Port Arthur, for the citizens of Port Arthur. We ask all these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we all should have a copy of our minutes from our August 2nd regular board meeting. Have a motion to approve those.
Second.
It's moved by Ms. Connors and second by Ms. Frank that we approved our minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have our presentation. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to introduce our new board members. Miss Raymond, she's out. She's out of town. She could not participate. She wanted to get on by phone. She was very excited to try to participate, but she could not. Miss Katrina Frank. Katrina, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
This is my second round. I started back in 2008 and I ended it in 2013, leaving to go to the city council. But I am a banker, vice president of BBVA. This is the best board in the city. I enjoyed this board. I love what we do for the city of Port Arthur. It is a strong engine and I'm excited to be back. My second round.
Thank you very much, Frank. Mr. LeBeau.
Yeah, Jerry LeBeau. I've been on this board before, and I'm glad to be on it. I love this board, and hopefully I can make a change or go forth with whatever we're doing. So, and I am from Port Arthur, so.
Thank you very much.
Introduce our interim attorney. Our attorney.
Mr. Frank Garza, you want to introduce yourself, Mr. Garza?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair and the board members, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a nice drive from San Antonio here. And let me emphasize that is why I am your interim general counsel until we find you a more permanent replacement.
Welcome, Mr. Frank.
Welcome back, you two, and welcome, Mr. Garza. Thanks for all that you're doing for us. Thanks for you all giving your time back to this board and to this city. We're glad to have you. Communications, Mr. Baptiste.
It's a bet, yeah.
You have a letter of resignation from Mr. Smith. And I also include in the package, this probably is my last board meeting for this city, for the city of Port Arthur. And I kind of wrote a letter to the people of the city of Port Arthur, thanking them for serving them. And I've attached a copy of this, what I sent to the people, to you guys. And as Katrina, Katrina and I, back in 2007, 2008, this board have accomplished a lot of good things. And I think the best is yet to come for this organization. I wish this organization all the best in the future, and I hope you guys continue doing the things that we have done. I think this board has made a tremendous difference in this town, not only with the citizens, but bringing all the partners together and working very close and collaborative with all these partners. That is very important in our business. I just want to say to you guys, thank y'all for serving.
Floyd, we thank you. One of the things that I've always said about Floyd is Floyd can close a deal, and Floyd can close a deal. And I appreciate the many years that we worked together, Floyd. I'm gonna miss you. I appreciate you, Floyd. I appreciate what you've done for this city. Thank you.
All right, this time we'll move to our reports. First report, workforce development. Renata.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I'm going to start this evening by talking about our CDL program. The CDL Class A and B are coming along well despite the challenges with COVID. New student intake is an ongoing process weekly. At our last board meeting, I told you guys that I would actually have a breakdown of what's going on in regards to our Class A and B. And so I provided you guys with the breakdown, and it highlights all the students that have either graduated or that are in range or are homebound or have failed out. We've only had 2 that have actually failed out, and I did make contact with those 2 individuals. Well, one, I found out that he failed 3 times after 3 attempts. And then the other young man, he actually got a job out of town, and he did call, and he wanted to start the program again, but I talked with our deputy director, and of course, we've already allotted money, and we can't keep giving money out and they're not finishing the program. So that's the reason why it didn't work out for him. So this is the breakdown, and I think she's gonna give this to me quarterly. So every quarter I'll have a breakdown of what's going on in regards to our CDL Class A and B. Also, myself and Christopher Smith, we met with Dr. Stafford this month. Of course, Dr. Stafford is from Lamar State College, Port Arthur, and we met on August the 17th to discuss the key players in our community and what we can do to employ individuals completing the Lamar State College, Port Arthur CDL training program. As mentioned at last board meeting, most companies require 3 to 5 years behind the wheel. Employers are hiring warehouse workers in order to roll them into a driver's role. And I gave a breakdown of some companies that are locally here that are actually hiring. We also discussed the possibility of marketing and recruiting veterans in Port Arthur, as well as military individuals exiting Fort Bliss and Fort Hood that are looking to gain employment utilizing a CDL certification or trying to gain one. Dr. Stafford also shared some vital information with us in regards to a design phase, creating one of the largest commercial drivers program in the state of Texas, and it's going to be right here in Port Arthur. It is looking to take place in the next quarter. Drawings have been submitted to their board of directors. 10 acres, large commercial training area, classroom area, and we also discussed marketing implementation to locals as well as military on that component as well. Currently the following, and I have a breakdown of employers that are also hiring Class B drivers in FedEx, UPS, Amazon, that's just to name a few. Also at the last meeting, I think Mr. Smith had brought up about work keys. I did, once we were in that meeting, we did talk, and he was able to see the information that I have on my computer. The last TWC pool was sent to me this month, and after deciphering through like the spreadsheet and just looking at everything, we recognized that we had some duplicates. So basically, we're gonna probably have to scrub that list, and from my understanding, I have to go through and call individuals to see if they are employed or not employed, and I can take them off that list. Acadian Ambulance, the new program. We started off with approximately 33. We got down to about 19, and 6 have gone to phase 2 of the medic program. Students are now awaiting their second and third stipend payments. All student documentation has been sent to purchasing, and they are working attentively on getting those payments out because that was a slow process in the beginning. Our scaffolding program. We currently have no new students. However, I did speak to Dr. Safford in regards to our last certification recipient. And he was basically he graduated from the scaffolding program and received a certification, but they were unable to place him. However, Dr. Stafford is working with him, trying to figure out a way to place him. Lamar State College Port Arthur is pushing the program, and we encourage anyone that would like to get certified to register because, of course, scaffolding is a high demand. Scholarship. I've been in discussion with Lamar State College Port Arthur heavily regarding our scholarship recipients, my contact there. We've talked several times. All students have registered for the fall 2021 semester, and all incoming and returning students have been flagged. And after the drop date, we will be invoiced and we will make that payment for those students. To date, I will say that the EDC has put out thousands of dollars to educate our future, and we are PA proud. That concludes my report. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Renata, on this CDL with Parker Lumber Company and Swift and Fast Track, have we made any contacts with these people to see if they can help us with jobs?
Actually, no, I hadn't made any contact because I just got through. We just had a meeting, so I'm kind of like going through trying to decipher. So once I get that down pack, I will make contact with those people.
Okay. And on this other one, I didn't quite understand, but this Fort Bliss and Fort Hood, I know that's out of town, but have we tried with local veterans to see if they can?
I'm gonna let Mr. Christopher Smith take that question.
Yes. Being that I'm a veteran myself and I spent time in both of these installations, yeah, we're trying to look at the people that are that are in the veteran status that have these type of qualifications. We're trying to use work keys to figure out who they are, where they're vetted and validated. Went through the Veteran Service Commission trying to find out if they had ability to help with a database. They don't do none of that. They send everybody over to Texas Workforce Solutions, so we have to go back to this database here, remove all the duplicates, find out who's viable, and then kind of pull that talent pool together so we can let them know what our plans are now and what our plans are for the future, so we can get them engaged with us. Now, and particularly when we start talking about taking a serial approach, meaning, one by one, we need to broaden that landscape and do it more personal, get on some Zoom conferences, start talking about who we are, what we're trying to do, engage those people with us so we can let them understand beyond what the papers say, what we actually are doing, because we can't take this one by one approach. It's not getting to where we need to be. We need to make it horizontal and get it out there, and that's what we're trying to do. So once we scrub that data, know exactly who is who and where they are, then we can start figuring out how we want to market to those people, get Dr. Stafford with us on some type of Zoom call so we can start communicating on a lateral basis what we're trying to do so we can have those people come to us as opposed to us come to them. That's our initial plan right now, but we still in the scrub phase right now and trying to get all our ducks lined out so when we communicate out, it'll make sense to those that it'll gravitate to.
They'll work with you and let you know who the
Absolutely.
veterans are.
Absolutely. We are on the communication with them on a constant basis to make sure we got good data and good information. So when we communicate out, it's going to be straightforward and simple.
Because they're bound to have them out there.
I know they do. I know they're out there. It's just that we got to find them and we got to get the data to figure out who they are so we can reach them.
Good.
Good.
Renata, the last thing, and I wasn't here about this area where they're going to have truck drivers and there's 10 acres in Jefferson County and stuff like that. I didn't know anything about it. But does the EDC have anything to do with this?
No, this is strictly through Lamar State College Port Arthur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jared, just for consideration, you know what the ISTC building is off of 6-9?
Yeah.
It's going to be behind that and that big old field that's behind that. That's where that location is going to be.
Okay.
So it's going to be off of the main highway, but close enough to the main highway. They can come in and go out and won't have any constriction.
Is that going to be part of them?
That's going to be a part of the program from Lamar State
Okay.
College.
Right.
That's all of them. That's where the location is going to be.
So they're going to have everything there?
Yes, sir.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Thank you, Renata.
Okay. All right. All righty.
Renata, on this list here,
I'm sorry.
do you know how many of these folks are working?
Actually, the one, I just got the list. I will say that I have made contact with some. The last time I checked, out of the whole list, 5 were working.
Only 5?
Yes, sir, 5.
Okay, and for clarity, Mr. Smith, the database that you get from TWC, you could filter it, but an individual could go into TWC and put in several several applications. That's why they have duplicate name. There's in Excel, you could undupe some of that stuff. You can't, because if you take it out, then you're taking an application out of that system. You follow me what I'm saying? A person may have 3 different applications with 3 different type of skills.
Right.
And if you go in there and you delete it, then you're deleting that person's opportunity to become employed in a particular craft. Okay?
Understood.
Okay.
But we weren't planning on deleting anything. We're just looking at what's on the Excel sheet and trying to decipher what we're seeing so we can understand what skill sets are aligned to what type of roles so we can figure out who we want to target. We're not trying to delete anything out the system, just for context.
Well, when you say scrub, that's what. And the other thing, I think, Crystal, you may help me out. There probably is a field that identifies veterans where you could pull by veterans,
Okay.
and it would identify the skill sets that those veterans are looking for employment with. The other thing I want to say, this has nothing to do with work keys. It's
Okay.
just a database, TWC database.
Okay.
This is not work keys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Now, how many started in the class?
How
How many started in the class?
this year?
Uh,
Let's see, I have that information.
This is all of them?
Actually, let's see, this year, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We currently have 24. Yeah, 24 that are enrolled, and out of the 24, we have 7 that have completed.
And so you get this quarterly, you said?
Yes.
That's good.
Mhm.
If you could act, well, they wouldn't know if they hired or not, would they? Lamar would not know if these people are hired or not.
No, I actually call them.
Okay.
Yeah, I call them.
I think that would be good information for this board because the outcome is employment,
It's good.
Any other questions for Renato? Thank you so much for your
Thank you. Mhm.
Now we have our program compliance report.
Good afternoon, board members.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so quick project report for you guys. I apologize, last board meeting I was out ill, so I wasn't able to speak on standard alloys. I know, Mr. Anderson, you had asked about standard alloys about 2 or 3 meetings ago, so I wanted to really get into detail with that for you guys. As I had stated, phase 1 is the office and shop construction. There was 3 phases to their incentive. The office and shop construction has been completed. I've attached some photos there for you. I went and met with Mr. Martinez, who is the facility manager, and he gave me a tour, and he also welcomes any of you that would like to go out and check out the facility. It is state-of-the-art, very nice facility, as you can see from the photos. Phase 2 are the electrical upgrades for the motor pump testing facility. The electrical upgrades have been complete by Entergy. They are currently setting up the testing facility. Those images you can see on pages 8 and 9. That is the testing area. So that is currently being set up at the moment. If you flip the page to 10, you'll see that they are putting in those upgrades on the outside of the building to get that testing facility up and running. That blue tank there is a recycled tank off of a rail car. They're using that for water, to store water in order to test those pumps. So they're well on their way to get phase 2, the portion set up and all. They do have the Entergy upgrades already complete. Phase 3 will be the foundry relocation. The foundry is currently on Houston Avenue. Their plan is to relocate that to the business park as well, but that is coming in the future. That's not in the foreseeable future because they don't know when they plan on doing that yet, but they are still operating here on Houston Avenue out of that foundry. So they are eligible for 50% reimbursement for all 3 of those phases. We've already reimbursed for phase 1, and I'm working with them right now to find out as far as their letter of credit goes, to renew it so that we can protect ourselves on the incentive side before we release phase 2's payment to them. They are eligible as they've completed it. We're just working out the letter of credit side of it. A payroll status update. They did give me an update up until July. W-2s are not due until next March for 2021, but they went ahead and submitted those wages just so I can give you all an update. They are well on their way. They've surpassed their requirements as far as payroll goes for Port Arthur residents. They are to maintain wages in an amount of $221,936, and as of July 31, they've already reached $307,225 and some change. So by December, you'll see they're well above that amount to Port Arthur residents. So they are in good standing. They've done all their promised work, so we have them in good standing. Okay, a Reef 1, which is the plaza, the Garibaldi Plaza on Jimmy Johnson Boulevard that was just completed. They have submitted their second certificate of occupancy for that plaza. We were waiting on a final one for them because we had a temporary on file. So before we released their final payment, their incentive payment, we needed that final one. They have submitted that, so they are ready to be closed out. We have submitted it over to accounting for payment, and as soon as we get that verification, it'll come back to you all to close that file out. Okay, Team Fabricators. Just a quick update on them. They do have a new facility manager in place. He has been there with them for quite a while in operations, so he's very familiar with the location. He's moved down here from Wisconsin, from their parent company location, so he's boots on the ground and ready to work with the EDC. He is one of the ones that visited the memorial, so he brags about the students in the memorial's CAPE program, the Career and Technology Education Program, and they're ready and willing to work with the school district on getting some students out there, hopefully for a visit soon, just for the students. Okay, Rustin Penland, he is looking to begin groundwork in the next 30 days. He is our latest land purchaser for the business park. You all approved that a couple of meetings ago. It's gone to the title company and closed, and he does plan to break ground in the next 30 days. He did change around his plot design because he acquired those extra square footage, or the extra acreage, I'm sorry, from us. So he went ahead and added more room for parking. So it's going to look a little different. That's what his holdup has been. He's redesigning that. So hopefully within the next 30 days, you'll see ground breaking out there. Okay, and one that I did want to let you all know is not on here. Port Arthur Scrapworks, they are coming to term, and they've submitted their payroll for 2020. So I'm in the middle of calculating that for them and seeing where they're at on their contract. So you may see either a closeout or an extension on your next board meeting agenda for Port Arthur Scrapworks. Okay, and that concludes my report. Any questions?
Any questions for Crystal? And let's just keep in mind that we have to break to get into executive session for 6:30.
Yeah. Crystal, on this 50% reimbursement, what are you talking about?
For Standard Alloys?
Right.
So our contract reads that we are paying up to 50% of the cost that Entergy quotes them for their electrical upgrades.
I think we have a dollar value there.
I'm sorry?
I think we have a dollar value there because it was over $1 million worth of upgrade that Entergy brought over there. Most of that
Right.
cost is going to be on standard. I think we have a dollar value that we're going to contribute to this project.
You're correct. There is a dollar value in the contract. It's up to $750,000.
Okay,
but
50% of the 750.
no, 50% of their cost. So it could go to the $750. It may not reach that, but our contract says that we we are allocating up to 750,000 for them. But we're only paying out 50% of their actual cost. So if it comes below that, then we only pay the 50% of it.
I need to look at that one. I want to look at that contract.
Okay.
Any other questions for Crystal? Thank you so much, Crystal.
You're welcome.
At this time, we're going to actually break for executive session. We have a special executive session that begins at 6:30. Time is now 6:25. Closed meeting or executive session will be held pursuant to the following sections of Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, Section 551071, Section 551072, Section 551074, and Section 551087. We'll now break for executive session. To reconvene our special board meeting. Mr. Baptiste, give us a roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Here. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll pick up at reports, and we will have our financial report, please.
The number issue.
Good evening, Board.
Evening.
First, I would like to take some time to explain the format of the financial report to Ms. Frank. Ms. LaBeouf, you are familiar with it, and I'll just explain a little bit to you, Ms. Frank. What we have and what we start with is our statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And what it lists is the revenue, the projected revenue, the actual revenue, and the unrealized revenue for this fiscal year. It also will give us a list of the expenditures and access, or whether we're over or under in the fund for that fiscal year. It also lists the debt service, and then it gives us a projected fund balance based on those numbers. The sheet behind, right behind, is a list of the expenditures. When you look at the expenditures, it's just one lump sum number, but the sheet behind gives you a breakup of what makes up those numbers in the salaries, in the supplies, maintenance, contractual services, and so forth. The very last page, the rest of it is pie graphs, just so you could kind of see, how much of the budget is being used where. And the very last sheet gives us our tax revenue for the year. And it takes a look at, right now it's taking a look from 19 to 21, kind of give us a breakdown. So you'll see me start with that very first sheet. And basically, I just give you the projections, the expenditures, and where we're projected to be at the end of the fiscal year. Okay? And, okay, let's begin. This report is effective as of August the 30th, 2021. For October 2021, we actually projected $4,400,000 in sales tax revenue. The actual revenue as of August the 30th is $4,755,166, leaving us an actual overage at this time of $355,166. Our interest revenue was estimated at $75,000. The actual revenue at this time is $13,538, leaving us an unrealized revenue of $61,462. Our loan repayment was estimated at $57,651 as of August the 30th, 2021. The actual revenue is $65,421, leaving an actual overage in that revenue of $7,770,000. We estimated rental income at $144,548. As of August the 30th, 2021, the actual revenue is $60,180, leaving us an unrealized revenue of $84,368. Business park revenue was estimated at $70,715. Actual as of August the 30th, 2021 is $53,473, leaving us an unrealized revenue of $17,242. Our land sales is estimated this year at $287,500. However, as of August the 30th, 2021, we have an actual revenue of $343,559, giving us $56,059 more than the projection. Our land lease projection was $10,800. The actual as of August the 30th, 2021 is $6,300, leaving us an unrealized revenue of $4,500. We did not project a miscellaneous income. However, as of August the 30th, 2021, there is a $600,040 revenue, and that has to do with the $600,000 from 501 Proctor. The total revenue estimated for fiscal year 2021 was $5,046,214,000. The actual revenue as of August the 30th, 2021 is $5,897,678, leaving us an overage actual excess of $851,464. And again, that's basically pretty much due to that $600,000. Our expenditures for the month of August in personnel service, $870,137, excuse me. In supplies, $11,461. In maintenance, $30,046. Contractual services, $2,023,540. Our capital outlay, $373,963. It leaves us a total expenditure for the month of August of $3,309,147, giving us an excess of revenue of $1,737,067. And let me say that again, $1,737,067. We have a debt service of $857,933. As of October, we have actually transferred into that $714,944 with $142,989 left to go. That gives us a net change in fund balance of $879,134. The beginning balance of the beginning of the year was estimated at $4,501,694. We're estimating the fund balance at the end of this year at $5,380,828. Now, if you go to the last page where the tax chart is, the very last page will give our tax revenue for the prior years. We'll just be looking at this year. The month of August, the sales tax was $2,009,231.39. Of that amount, the EDC is sitting here, and I'm going to back up because I didn't break this one up here. The total amount for the EDC and streets at this time. The streets has $730,515.43, and Ms. Frank, let me stop a little bit for you for that. Up until December, we were, okay, the 1A tax. Okay, great. Okay, so that actually ended, and as of April 1st, the city of the Port Arthur EDC now gets the third. So I can tell you at this time, we have estimated that our September sales tax would be $1,529,828.46. With these estimates, we're looking at being well over what we projected in sales tax revenue. We're still looking strong. We still have 1 month left to go. We still have a couple of encumbrances that still need to be paid for this fiscal year. And if we don't pay them this fiscal year, we'll just carry them over into the next year. And some of those things have already been set in the next budget. I don't see, again, no problems. The EDC Budget is still strong, and I don't foresee any problems in the future. Is there any questions today? Ms. Baptiste, would you like to say something?
It's expenditure page. It's expenditure page that you give. If you look at the last column, they talk about through September. If you look at the very bottom of that thing, it's about the total is about $789,950. Is that right, Rachel? The total of all of them? No. Some of this money gonna be, Rachel talk about your fund balance. We will not spend some of this money and it will go into your fund balance. So your fund balance, you're gonna see your fund balance increase by what we do not spend next month. Well, next month, right?
Yes.
Yes, next month. So you got one more month in your fiscal year. We estimating that you probably will see close to $1 million going to an additional $1 million going to your fund balance. And I just want to say to the board, Rachel, I certainly appreciate you keeping your eyes on the money.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Rachel.
Okay, thank you, board. Have a nice evening.
You do the same. Mr. Baptiste, are you taking the Community and Business Center report?
I'm going to stab at it. Jana been very involved in this thing. I will tell you guys that Lamar State College, the class started last week or this week. Last Monday, they are attending classes every day. We meet on a weekly basis with all the contractors, Lamar State College, the city of Port Arthur, and ourselves, and making sure, and with all the contractors, with DataVox, who's providing the security and the cameras and all the equipment. The kitchen equipment is all set in place. Right now, Lamar State College in the EOC building is 98% completed. So they are projecting probably at the end of November they will have our section completed. So I'm very pleased. Jana have definitely been cracking the whip on those folks, guys, and making things happen over there. And I appreciate the work she has been doing. But again, I think Christopher, Ms. Smith, you got a chance to visit the building. Yeah, if any one of you guys want to go, just let Jana know and she'll take you guys through there. You want to give you
Mr.
outlook?
Baptiste, very impressed with what they got going on there. From the outlay of what I see and the perspectives on what the build out can be, you can clearly vision exactly what it's going to look like once it's complete. So I'm extremely pleased about the progress and the work that's being done there. Tell the team, very good job.
And the other thing I will tell you guys is, we build for the future. We got state-of-the-art equipment in there. We have state-of-the-art equipment in there. Again, I invite any one of you guys that want to go out there, just give myself or Jana a call. And I don't know, Mr. Darrell, have you been through that? I didn't. Yeah. But y'all are welcome to go in there and see what's going on. That's Jana's report. Jana would say a whole lot more, but I can tell you what she said.
All right. Now, go ahead and give your CEO report.
Yes, sir. I think on my report, I gave you guys this one sheet. I know at last board meeting, we talked about pending projects and things that's on the table. I put on here 549 4th Street. Our planned completion date is November 21st. The Industrial Training Center that we have a partnership in that. It's January. Completion date is January. I think tonight's meeting, you guys have a request to approve an RFQ for a legal counsel. Tonight meeting, you guys have reviewed the description a subcommittee have reviewed the description of the CEO and the deputy director. The board hired you guys going to be discussing about the board hiring a consultant to recruit your next CEO. The update on the naming right is also on your agenda that you guys are going to take care. I'm just going to go down. I think a lot of this stuff, you guys are going to make some decision on this tonight. You know, the letter of intent that is on your agenda also tonight. Mesquite, 2 projects we're waiting to complete. Mesquite Industrial Coating and Phoenix Industrial Water. I think those guys, Phoenix is purchasing, I think, 3 additional acres of land. Is that right, Crystal? Yeah, 3 additional. Mesquite is looking at putting together a project on Houston Avenue. We're still waiting on documentation from them. The other thing I put in this thing that is projects that we are currently working on. Equipment share. We're looking at, well, they were considering moving into Business Park. I think we're kind of looking at what's the name of that building? Drago's old building, to move them into Drago's old building. But the process is, we still getting the process ready. Johnny Colazzo looking at purchasing Highway 73 Business Park for a recycling facility over there. Dalton Davis, I was supposed to have a webinar with him at 11 o'clock this morning, but it was canceled to next week. So he's another investor that's looking at coming into Port Arthur. White Rock Transportation Group. I can't remember what it is, but I know they're talking about putting a terminal in the park. These are all projects that we are working on right now, and the most important one is the Cirrus Plastic. We've been working with these guys for about 6 weeks. I think we have ironed out a lot of the electrical. They are looking at moving to the business park in a 165,000 square foot building. We have ironed out the electrical with Entergy. I have been on the phone with TCEQ, thanks to Jonah, and we're trying to deal out with some admission. This is a Turkish company. They plan to hire about 150 people, high wage. It's a plastic manufacturing, so it's a big project for us. But I just wanted you guys to know the projects that we are working on and that will probably come to you guys in October. Okay? Any question on any of this thing?
Any questions for Mr. Baptiste? You have something else?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if the board doesn't mind, under your consent item number 3, if y'all could move that up. I do have the party here, and they have another appointment. If we could take care of that, it's just a letter of intent. If y'all could move it up so the party could go to the next meeting, FB2.
Consent?
Consent number 3.
Okay, so let's do the consent agendas right now then.
Yes, sir. If you don't mind.
Does anyone want to pull any of the consent agenda items? May I have a motion, please? It's been moved and seconded. We approve all of the consent agenda items. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Did she want to make a statement?
Yeah, in your package, I think in your package, you guys have a letter of intent. Where is it? Hauling Gas LLC. I will tell you guys, I looked at the letter. I looked at the NAISC code. It does meet the guideline for an economic incentive agreement. I did ask the party to come in. If you guys had any question before, if you want to move on with this, if y'all have any questions, ask the party. The party is here to tell you guys about what's going on.
I believe we're okay with the letter of intent, but since the party is here, if they wanted to say something, I would welcome them to do that. But we're good.
Let me just take this. Thank you, Mr. Baptiste, for giving me this opportunity to present my letter of intent, and looking forward to the EDC considering my project. We've been in business since 1994 in the city of Port Arthur as Swati Enterprises. We're the largest ExxonMobil and Shell fuel distributor in Southeast Texas and Southwest Louisiana. So most of your sites that you purchase fuel from on the interstate and even inner city are supplied by my company. We came across a problem in the last couple of years where we've seen natural disaster events increase. And so we came to a business decision that we needed to bring fuel transportation in-house. A lot of your national suppliers like TTE and Dupree were kind of sidelining jobberships in this area in Port Arthur because they felt that we're not a metro city, so maybe it's okay to kind of put that to the side and focus on Houston and other larger cities. So I'm taking the business risk to put capital in to buy 10 trucks and 10 tankers, employ between 15 and 16 people, train them as CDL hazmat endorsed drivers, and purchase other equipment also for storm-related work when we have natural disasters and such things. So I did ask Mr. Baptiste if there were any fuel transport companies in the industrial park, and he told me no. So I was like, well, there you have it. We have jobberships that have transportation companies, but they're not located in Port Arthur. So I think this is a great opportunity for the EDC to consider this project and to help us grow the business even further and employ people that are residents of Port Arthur and give them the opportunity. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer, or okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, unfinished business.
Mr. Chairman, you need to get a motion on that. Need to get.
They already approved the consent agenda.
Okay. I didn't mark it on mine. Okay, thank you.
Unfinished business. To discuss with possible consideration seeking a request for qualification for legal counsel.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, last board meeting, I did provide you guys with a draft of a request for proposal for legal counsel, and I found out after talking to Mr. Garza, he drafted. So we're asking you guys to consider this this document and get out there and try to find your legal counsel. Question on that, Mr. Garza, you want to say? I think you were the draft of that.
That's correct. I drafted this for the city of Cibolo when they went out looking for legal counsel in the last few months. So when he showed it to me, I'm like, I know this one.
Any questions? May I have a motion? It's been moved and second that we move forward with the request for qualifications for legal counsel, utilizing the document that we have before us. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business number 2, to discuss for possible consideration utilizing naming rights for buildings owned by PAEDC. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. This item was requested by former board member Mr. Petrie, and it was tabled at the last meeting. I did reach out to both EDA, and also EDA has a lien on the building at 549 4th Street. And here, this building, we obtained a new market tax credit. The new market tax credit period has ended, so we have no obligation to anyone because it's outright the board. It is up to the board, whatever. EDA did not have a problem. They will still maintain a lien on that building. Whoever may own it, not own it, whoever, you guys gonna still own it. All the request is for naming right. It's up to the board if y'all wanna name the building. These two buildings that y'all own.
Questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Is this the naming for, like to possibly get like he was referring before, like the Toyota Center, like get another company that may want to pay to have their business naming rights added to this? That's what this about?
I think that was the consent, I think that was the intent of what Mr. Petrie was requesting. As I stated before, especially in this building, we have 7 or 8 tenants. The building is full. But it's strictly for naming right. It's going out there and say, somebody, do you want to call this building your name? Pay us to put your name on this building. It's up to the board.
I personally, so do we have any people potentials, or just how will we get it out to them to even see if it's a possibility of even doing it?
I would think, Commissioner, you would probably have to advertise or solicit. There's no one in mind right now. The same thing that's going on with building 549. At 549, you're going to have 4 entities in that building. You're going to have the city of Port Arthur. You're going to have Lamar State College. You're going to have the Community Development Center. And then you're also going to have a commercial kitchen, private sector. My recommendation to the board is I would remove this from y'all agenda because, it would be kind of difficult for some, the school district have a scoreboard. And they've been trying to get people to buy $250, $100 nameplate, and they're having very difficult time to get that done. And I think you guys would have a very difficult time getting private sector to put their name on a building that they're not even a part of or not in. That's my opinion, my recommendation.
I kind of agree with Mr. Baptiste. I think the timing for it is not right. I think once we kind of get closer to our utopia, things we're trying to build for Port Arthur, when we got more traffic, we got things booming down here, I think that'll be the better time to position this, but not right now.
I make a motion that we table it or remove it.
One thing on the EDC, that would be advertisement. So can the EDC receive money for advertisement?
Yes, sir. It's a service we render.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I have a motion on the floor to remove it from the agenda.
that.
It's been moved and seconded. We remove item number 2 from unfinished business from the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 1 under non-consent agenda. To discuss for possible consideration the election of a vice president of the board of directors of the corporation. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. Again, Mr. Chairman, I know this board at their previous meeting, they had made a motion to table, to wait until January of next year, at your annual meeting to elect the vice chair. As you guys know, the secretary of the corporation also resigned. So we added this back to the agenda because we certainly need a secretary. And if it is the desire of the board to name a vice chair, it's up to you guys, Again, y'all did move at last board meeting to not name a vice president until y'all election, but it's up to the board.
Okay. Go ahead.
I make a motion I think we definitely need a vice president. It's something, he can't make it, the next person steps in. My nomination would be Christopher Smith.
Second that.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Harris if possible.
Anybody else for the nomination of Ms. Harris? All right. So we have one nomination for Mr. Christopher Smith and a nomination for Mr. Rashard Harris.
We have a second for Mr. Smith. We have not heard a second for Mr. Harris.
Okay, so we have one nomination.
That's correct.
So with one nomination, we still vote, right?
Yes, we still have to vote, correct.
All right, so for the position of vice president, we have one nominee, Mr. Christopher Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. And welcome, Mr. Christopher Smith. All right. Agenda item number 2, to discuss for popular consideration the election of a secretary of the board of directors for the corporation. Mr. Baptiste gave his spiel already. Do we have any nominations? Rashard,
Sir.
before you accept that nomination, are you available to do everything the secretary has to do?
I am not. I'm gonna be honest. I would actually nominate Mr. LeBeau here.
And I
Someone
would
that-
second that.
Someone that can be.
Available.
I don't want to make myself do too much that I know I can't do. I don't want to affect the board. I want to help. So I nominate Mr.
And the
LeBeau.
secretary position is one that has to execute every document and
totally
resolution.
understand. I totally understand. So I appreciate it. I thank y'all. But I know there's something that I can't fully commit myself to. And I want to help, not hurt the board. So I nominate Mr. LeBeau.
Seconded. All right, so we have any other nominations? All right, so we have one nominee for secretary, Mr. LeBeau. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. LeBeau.
Thank you.
And your welcome is going to be a stack of documents that already need to be signed.
That's exactly
Welcome
why I
aboard.
won't do that. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Harris, for your honesty and consideration.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, agenda item number 3, to discuss with popular consideration, enter into a contract for administrative services with the city of Port Arthur. Mr.
Chairman, I'm going to yield to the attorney on that one.
Mr. Chair and the board, this is a draft agreement that's in your packet that would be between the city of Port Arthur and the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. As you all know, this agreement would start October 1st of 2021 and would go through every fiscal year and automatically renew unless one of the parties sent notice. It clearly identifies in this agreement the services provided to the city by the PAEDC, as well as the services the city provides the Economic Development Corporation. Specifically, it identifies working with staff for economic development purposes, develop, incentivize, encourage industrial space. Basically, it clearly identifies the economic development arm for the city. It also allows to provide space for city operations at any EDC building, if space is available and at fair market rate negotiated and approved by the city and the EDC. In return, the city will provide services, and it has been providing these services for years past. It provides administrative services. It provides some accounting services, including recording all revenues and expenditures of the PAEDC. It issues checks for payments. It handles all the deposits, preparation of monthly unaudited financial reports. It also provides personnel services for all EDC employees. It offers EDC employee health coverage that's available to city health benefits. It administers the health benefits. It administers the retirement program. It does the payroll checks and all the deductions. And in return, the city would agree to pay the EDC for these services, and the EDC in return would pay the city for those services. It also makes it clear that we have an option, since they have to pay fair market value for utilizing of EDC buildings, we can give them a reduced rate in exchange for the services they provide to the EDC. And that document is outlined. I would tell you it's in substantial final form. We still have to negotiate the actual cost that the city is going to charge the EDC. We believe they're going to do a monthly fee, and we also have to determine what that rate is going to be for the lease that we're going to talk about next on item 14, the actual rental rate for that facility. So what we're seeking for is a motion to approve the document in substantial final form and authorize the legal counsel and the chair to finalize that document with the city of Port Arthur. And with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
To Garza, a quick question. In regards to page 3, section B, with personnel services, and in conjunction with, which I think is still an item we have to consider, which is the employee manual, which addresses page 7, on the back of page 7. My concern and my question is, does it deals with grievance and or complaints when it comes down to personnel services that are going to be offered by the city of Port Arthur, in conjunction with the employee manual, which we still have to consider, which is on page 7, which, as I read it, it still puts the ownership of making a decision on the board and not the city.
That is correct. When it comes to grievance and personnel matters, the city, the bylaws currently state that our rules will be consistent or in conjunction with the city of Port Arthur's rules. In our discussions with the city of Port Arthur, their rules don't really address certain issues with the EDC. So one of the discussions I've had with the city attorney is either to amend their personnel rules to clearly identify some of the issues that we have with EDC, or to add our rules that we're proposing to be adopted as an attachment to their rules, so that it clearly shows what rules the EDC, it'll be part of the city's personnel policy, but it would only apply to EDC employees. So those are the two options that we're looking at: either amend certain rules with the current city personnel policies, or simply attach what we've proposed for EDC employees as part of their personnel policy. And even though it's part of the city of EDC, it's part of the city's policy, it would only apply to EDC employees.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? May I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved in second that we move forward with the contract for administrative services with the city of Port Arthur, which is at almost final standing, pending legal counsel and chair working out the rest of the details. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I want to look at agenda item number 14. And that is to discuss for possible consideration approving the terms and condition and a lease agreement with the city of Port Arthur for the Emergency Operations Center located at 549 Fort Street. Mr. Baptiste.
Okay, I'm going to yield again to the attorney to give you guys some language.
And item 14 is a draft commercial lease agreement, and there are a couple of proposed options. Currently, the city is in agreement that they do have to pay fair market value. We had a conversation with the city on Friday, and that was one of the things that was communicated. They've asked to do an appraisal of the facility to make a determination what that fair market value will be. So what we're seeking is approval of the lease agreement, and the terms work out except there's blanks because we don't know exactly what that rate's going to be. And then once we know what that rate will be for the lease, Then we'll know what change we have to make to that administrative contract that you just approved. So our recommendation, again, is very similar: to approve this in substantial final form until your legal counsel and the chair are able to finalize the terms with regards with the city as to what the lease rates will be.
Any questions? May I have a motion?
Second.
Been moved and second that we move forward with the terms and conditions for the lease with the city of Port Arthur for the EOC located at 549 4th Street, pending the finalization of the terms with legal counsel and the chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify for those two items, while it's the chair and the legal counsel, we're going to utilize Mr. Batiste for his last month here to also assist us with both these documents and finalizing those negotiations as well.
Goes without saying. All right, agenda item number 4, to discuss for possible consideration approving a City of Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation employee manual. Mr. Batiste?
Again, I'm going to yield this to the attorney. I think he and I had some discussion about this, and you want to talk about it, Mr. Garza?
Yes, sir. Your current bylaws basically state that your employees will be handled by the city's personnel policy. The city's personnel policy really does not address certain issues as to how EDC employees, because while we comply with their policy, they're not truly city employees, even though they are part of TMRS and they do get the same health benefits that the city provides. They are EDC employees. They report to the executive director of the EDC. And so there are certain issues that still need to be addressed in the personnel policy. In talking to Mr. Batiste, he raised the issue about the bylaws, so I reminded that of the city attorney. And the two options we're looking at is not to amend the bylaws, but to simply find the personnel rules in the current policy that need to be revised, or simply attach these to the city of Port Arthur's personnel policy, but again, they would only be applicable to EDC employees. Personally, I would prefer to see about amending the rules. I think it would be easier than creating an entire policy. But I get the feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Batiste, the city is looking at attaching these to their personnel policy and simply making an attachment that these would be the rules that apply. Even though they'd be part of the city's personnel policy, they would only apply to EDC employees. So those are the things we're currently working on. I would probably prefer that you not approve these tonight until we know more or less which option the city is going to go with. I think since we've been waiting a while anyway to clarify, I think it's best. I mean, I find these rules well written and good and ready to go, but I don't know if they're going to be simply an attachment or we can simply amend a few of the rules that are currently in the city's HR policy that would remedy the issue where we would not have to attach the entire new policy.
Okay, so what would be the determining factor of whether we would have to use this document or amend?
It's going to be up to the city.
Up to the city. As Mr. Garza said, I would recommend that you guys remove this and bring it back after we've had some clear discussion with the city attorney and the city, with the city. I think there's two options. You attach this or you amend the policy or draft a policy specifically for EDC under the grievance procedures. Because right now, the city policy does not address grievance for the managers. And we are consistent with the city policy. So we have nothing in the policy that address a grievance against the director or the manager. And what Mr. Garza is saying is we may just have to draft something specifically for EDC, or they may want all this. But this is pretty much what the city policy is saying. is very little, no difference between what the city policy is saying in this here. So what he's saying is, let's find out how the city want to go with this thing, because they're the final custodian of all this.
Okay, so between now and the next time that we meet, it will be determined which way we need to go so that we can make some type of decision.
Yes, sir. I think we're going to have the discussion with the city attorney. In fact, we have already started the discussion. She does have a copy of this. She have a copy of this, and we did talk to her about the two options. A decision just haven't been made as of this time.
So the recommendation is to table this?
Table it or remove it.
I would table it to the next meeting.
Table it. Yes, sir.
Second.
We moved in second that we table agenda item number 4. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Number 5, to discuss for possible consideration the recommendation of the committee reviewing the PA EDC bylaws. That bylaws committee was comprised of Mr. Christopher Smith and Ms. Rhonda Connor and our previous board member, Mr. Roosevelt Petrie. I believe Mr. Smith, I asked him to lead that charge, so.
Basically, in your packet, we have shared some thoughts. We shared some thoughts and some considerations on some things that we would like for the fellow commissioners to review in consideration as an addendums, amendments, and deletions. And I believe it should look like this packet right here.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I should have a copy of that in there.
It addresses section 702, which refers to the qualification of the executive director. Also, section A, article 8, general duties of the board of directors, kind of lining that out a little bit better. And as you go through the packet, you will see some of the recommendations that fellow Commissioner Connor, as well as former Commissioner Petrie, as well as myself, have given some thought on some of the things that we think should be added to our bylaws to make them up to date and more current than what we have. And we'd like for you guys to take in consideration what we recommend as something we possibly want to consider send into the city or the council for consideration.
So at this point, has everyone had a chance to review all of these items and take a look at this item? I would probably say not.
Oh, I haven't.
Okay, Mr. Baptiste,
Okay.
I know you had some things.
Yeah, I reviewed some of this stuff, and I think Mr. Garza and I discussed some of this stuff, especially when you go to section 702 qualification. The law specifically said must be a resident. You know, in a type B, the law allows an individual to serve on the board that is outside of the city, but in a type A, it does not say that you can't. You can. You have to be a resident of the city in a Type A organization. So when you want to add or 5 years, the law will not. Mr. Garza, am I correct in saying that the law will not allow that?
Unless that owner of the business also is a resident. If they just own a business but are not a resident, Mr. Baptiste is correct. Under our type of corporation, it would not allow for that.
Got it. And that's strictly from the rule. If it was a type B, the law allows someone from outside of the city to serve on a B board. Am I correct on that, Mr. Garza? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So as a possible addendum, can we add that as a person that is a resident and own a business? And that would meet the stipulations of the Type A, right? According to what you say, Mr. Garza?
That's correct.
Okay.
But that would also mean that the board members would have to own a business
Would have to own a business if you say that.
and not be employed by a business. That's a area where it may lead into issues if the council wants to appoint someone who works for a business, who's employed, lives in the city, but doesn't own the business.
Okay, I can see that. Thank you for that clarity.
Anything else, Mr. Baptiste or Mr. Garza, that y'all see? that we need to look at?
Yeah, under section 8.1, Chris, you said amend this section to read that the executive director may request by way of the board of directors to post an interview and opening within the staff of PAEDC with the city HR. Well, that really happens, prior to anytime the board has a position, the director have to come to you guys and request that position be put in the budget. And normally we do this prior to the budget approval by the council. So we come here, and I'm going to use the example of Mr. Davis. We knew that we wanted a deputy director because I had said, my time was short. I asked you guys for the position. Then we went to the council, and the council approved the position. Let me go back a little bit. Prior to the council approving the position, it went to HR. HR came up with a job description. It came up with a salary range. It came all the work, and then it goes to the council, and then the council approved the position effective in your budget. Okay, so all that is done prior to October 1. The position has been approved by the council. Once the position has been approved, then Mr. Davis came on, I think, in February or March. You could bring that position in at any time, but it has to be approved by the council. It has to be approved by the council. It is approved by the board, sent to the council in their budget because it's financials, so financial implication. And once the council approved our budget with that position, then it's a position. It cannot be a position until after you guys approve, then it goes to the council, then the council approved the position, then it makes it an active position in our budget. Got to have it. That's the process. You follow me?
Gotcha. Thank you.
So the process, what you're saying is already in place. You guys approve something prior to the council approving the budget, because once they approve that budget, then you would have to go, if you wanted a position, you would have to ask for a position, but then you would have to go back and amend your budget to add that position into the budget. But we normally do that at the budget hearing that we're going to have next month, this month, whatever month we're in. Following?
Got you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the only one that I wanted to point out was I think 7.05. Just as a reminder, any bylaw proposed changes would have to go to the city.
Right.
And I believe 7.05 was to remove this provision. This is really what we call an ethics provision. And basically, it's to clarify that any member who's on the board cannot be employed by the city. And once you're off the board, you cannot be employed by the city or the EDC for 2 years. It's a common provision. I usually see 1 year or 2 years, never anything more than 2. I just don't know whether or not the council would be willing to remove that provision, because it keeps making sure that board members don't use this position to then get hired by the city or hired by the EDC to work for either entity.
Right.
Commissioner Connors, I don't think that was the intent, right? The intent was to make sure that it was enforced as opposed to being removed.
Oh, okay. Well, then if it's an enforcement issue, then we need to enforce it. But if it's an enforcement issue, then it just needs to be reminded of the city or the EDC that this is a specific provision that prohibits someone from being employed that once they served on this board for up to 2 years.
The other thing, Mr. Smith, on number 13.03, no, that name change, that's not a big deal. I think which one I was looking at, I think I talked to you. 1304, is that right? Let me go through this thing again. Yeah. The deputy director position is not in your 2021-22 budget. When we budgeted, originally when we added the deputy director position, it was for a position to replace, because we knew that I was getting out of here. Once the board decided that they was going to get a new director, we took it out of the budget. Now, you guys can put it back in the budget, but you would have to amend the current budget that you have. And you know, the reason why we took it out, because we only have 7 staff. I didn't think that as a director that we needed 2 people to oversee 7 people. And in the 17 years that I've been here, we have never had a deputy other than Mr. Davis, because it was a transition from one director to another director. So again, if the board choose to do so, you guys could amend the budget, or not amend because it haven't been approved by the council. You can put that position back in if y'all want it. But right now, it's not in the budget.
Right. Now, fellow commissioner, Mr. Baptiste, my consideration was this, as I look at how we moved through our echelons of how we done things for the city of Port Arthur, like for instance, we going out looking for a new ED now, right? If we had a deputy director, if he was trained or he was under executive director, that would be a step up for him, and we wouldn't lose continuity, or we wouldn't lose any traction trying to identify someone to replace Mr. Baptiste right now. So we start looking at where we need to be versus where we are. If we had a new executive director, but we didn't have a deputy, if the executive director decided to move out or leave the position at any particular point in time in his contract or her contract, if we had a deputy, we would have someone that can automatically step right into that position and won't lose any traction, because that person would be ready to move forward in that position, where we wouldn't have to go out for RFQ or RFP to identify someone else and reallocate funds to try to find someone that is already embedded in our team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Mr. Smith, and that's exactly what we did. That's why we went extra counsel for that position as the deputy director, to make sure that we had a smooth transition. But when the board chose not to use that person as the new director, you guys voted to bring in an interim director to take over this organization. Then there was no need for a deputy, because the new director would take the interim place. You follow me? But exactly what you said is what we did. We went extra counsel. We went extra counsel for the position of deputy director, so that we would have a transition. But it didn't work that way, so we took it out the budget. Now, again, as I said, if you want to have, once you put it in the budget, it's in the budget. You got to pay for it. If you want to have a director and a deputy, it's up to the board. It's up to the board. But, I did not feel that this board with 6-7 workers here, you don't need a director and a deputy director over a small organization like this one. That's why it's not in the budget.
Mr. Smith, I was going to ask you a question. I wasn't on the board, of course, when all this happened. Did the board even offer Davis to step up?
Well, this is going based on recollection, because I don't recall the whole scenario. I don't know if that was offered, but when you look at the amount of time that he probably was in the position, with the exodus of Floyd, I don't know if the board felt, and I may be speaking out of turn, they felt that he had enough experience in his background to really step into that role without having to have someone to be able to provide him additional guidance. That was my assessment. That's my personal thought and my personal opinion, not the board's.
Right.
Mr. Chair, we're getting off the topic of the EDC bylaws.
Okay.
So we need to get back to the EDC bylaw discussion.
Back to the bylaws, like Mr. Garza said. Thanks, Mr. Garza, for bringing us back. Number 13.3 you would have to change the language in there because there's no deputy director in this year's budget. And also, if you look at the very next 13.04, you allude again to the deputy director. Again, there is no deputy director in this year's budget.
A suggestion at this point is that each person who has received these amendments would go back and take a look at what came from the committee. Thank them for their hard work and diligence. I would suggest that we table this so that we can all look at it and then come back with our suggestions, and then we can make the adjustments, if any, at that point in time. That would be my suggestion.
A second.
Table. All right. Okay, I just blanked out just a little bit. Do we need to vote on that table?
Yes, we did not vote. We had a motion and
Let me-
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. I really blanked out. That doesn't happen. Okay. Agenda item number 6, to discuss for popular consideration the recommendation of the committee reviewing the job descriptions of the chief executive officer and the deputy director. That committee consisted of Mr. Harris, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Petrie. And Mr. Harris was the lead on that. So what do you have for us?
Me and Mr. Smith, we basically communicated. We had our thoughts in it, but we actually never got a response from Mr. Petrie. So pretty much me and Mr. Smith was on the same page as to what we felt we should do moving forward, but we just never got a response from Mr. Petrie. So as far as I'm concerned, me and Mr. Smith was pretty much on the same page.
Did y'all have did y'all send me an email with y'all recommendations?
We did.
Where is it?
I don't see it in the packet.
I think Mr. Smith, Mr. Harris, the two job descriptions that we have, did y'all make some changes to these so that we could send it to personnel, or?
Yes, we did. That was,
This is the two you sent, right?
yeah, but I think the changes, if I recall
Was in the
correctly,
email.
was in the body of the email.
Yeah.
And it was kind of laid out on the things that we want the position description to reflect.
No,
that's actually the job description that came from the city.
okay. Do we have?
That was like an example type thing, and we kind of just put our own little edits in it.
Okay, whatever net changes that you want to make,
You have it in the email.
We need to see some change.
You have it in the email. I sent both of the emails with the bylaws and the.
These are the two that I got. Oh. Yeah, I didn't. Can we table this until the next one?
We're gonna table it.
I did not see the changes, the requested changes.
Is it possible for us to get a copy of that sent to everyone? Those. Okay.
You're gonna
Thank
send
you. So we're gonna table. I need a motion.
Second.
Been moved and second that we table this item that was Ms. Frank and second by Mr. Smith and Mr. Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 7. To discuss for possible consideration the request for qualifications and the selection process for hiring a PAEDC CEO effective October 1, 2021. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. What Mr. There's one firm, Next Move Group, which is a pretty good organization that does recruitment for economic development nationwide. There's a lot of groups out there. Whatever you guys want to do, we could post this thing on IEDC, or we could have a firm that actually go out there and do a search of potential candidates and bring back you guys whatever y'all want. If you want 2 or 3 or 4, they could bring those people back to you guys, and then you guys would interview and make selection. However, whatever process y'all want to put in place, y'all let us know, and we'll make it happen.
Much is it? How much is the cost?
I have not talked to any of them. This gentleman here, and that's why I gave you guys a copy. He reached out to us. These people keep up with what's going on. He reached out to us, but I know there's several firms out there, and I could check out the costs.
Okay.
Fellow Commissioner, this is my area of specialization. I'm in talent acquisition. I can tell you this kind of search is going to be somewhere between 25 to 30% of the base salary. And if there's any bonus that's allowed to it, there's going to be added to that too. So if you're looking at if this person is making 150 grand, it's going to probably be 30%. If it's retained, it's going to be paid in thirds. So, and my recommendation is to go out for bids and get organizations and let us come back and visit with the ones that we feel are the best ones for us to find our next executive director. That would be my proposal.
How many, if that's what the board desire, how many different organizations? Because there's quite a few of them. 4? Okay.
State your motion for me.
I make a motion that we go out for a search and obtain 4 bids for us to consider for executing our search for an executive director.
A second.
All right, it's been moved in second that we move forward with going forward with the request for qualifications and selection of hiring our next CEO by reaching out to firms, coming back with 4 different quotes that we may choose the firm that we want to use for the search. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, to discuss for possible consideration, appointing an intern PAEDC Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. I know you guys have named an interim CEO. The city have not taken any action on that as of yet. So I have it on here as to what you guys really want to do. Because, we did forward you guys' recommendation to the city. The council have not taken any action on it.
For clarity on that, I was contacted by our city attorney, and she let me know that the way it was done incorrectly. So that's why nothing has been done with that. It wasn't done properly. So we have to do it the right way.
So where we go from here, Chief?
Comments, questions, suggestions?
Do y'all have a list of projects that Mr. Batiste is working on as far as to keep them running and everything
Yes,
like
that's
this?
the list. It was in his executive report, in his CEO report.
Okay.
The question that I always had was, we don't even have like a pool of people that we can choose from. So this is kind of like I would probably say a difficult situation as of now, because we don't have like you said, a deputy director would probably be the next best thing in my personal opinion, because he works so close with Mr. Batiste. And I personally just don't know how could we go about just putting an interim in place of some projects that we had going that they're not even familiar with. So that's why I would have recommended an intern with the deputy director, me myself, just until we found someone, and then kind of work with it that way. That's my personal opinion on it.
Mr. Smith, you said you dealt with this before. Well, how long would this search last? I mean, I know you don't.
Yeah, I can tell you. You're looking at a
3
minimum of
months?
6 months.
Whew.
You're looking at a minimum of 6 months.
Kind of like getting the city manager, and that's how long it took.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Not to mention winter coming in. People don't normally like to move in the
And it
winter.
still don't mean that you're gonna hire one of
And
them.
they don't
No.
even, yeah, exactly.
You can go through the process and still don't have candidates.
Well, well, with these projects going on like that, is it possible to, I don't know, like Mr. Batiste, could we just use him somehow? Even he would leave contract to just keep us going?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that we should kind of
Can't just drop the ball.
know, because if we drop it, then we basically starting all over. So I personally would feel more comfortable with someone that's already familiar with all the projects, already know what's going on, even if he had to work hand in hand as a contractor with the deputy director until we fill in that position. Because I agree with everyone else saying that I just don't see no one personally just moving that fast and then filling the position that fast. I don't see it happening like that. And then you're talking about having to pay a salary to someone that no one's familiar with.
But what about what about Mr. Davis? Is that off the table or something?
That's a job.
I know.
What is the job? The floor?
Mr. Davis no longer work for EDC. Mr. Davis work for the city of Port Arthur right now. Could have that discussion with him though.
Wow. So we really stuck in a limbo. So there's no way of him coming back. Like, I didn't know this. This is new to me. So I didn't know Mr. Davis wasn't no longer. So that's completely off the table then. So no coming back from that.
City won't let him
Would have
work
to have-
half and half? No?
Talk to the city manager.
I mean, unless someone has some other opinions as to what's the next move we can possibly do, and like Mr. LaBeouf said, maybe contract Mr. Batiste until we just find someone. Other than that, in a couple of days, there won't be Mr. Batiste. It won't. It'll be an empty seat over there until we find. We'll just have to put somebody in there. So, and I don't think that'll be a good idea, me personally. I mean, maybe someone got some other opinions. That's just my personal opinion. So,
Mr. Anderson, so let's just say he would stay on his contract because he's already gone. He wouldn't have no benefits, wouldn't have any functions as far as supervision or anything like that, right? He'd just keep these jobs going. I'm just asking. I don't know.
But here's my thinking. Mr. Batiste decided that he was going to leave, right? So we're going to convince him not to leave and stay? Is that what we're saying right now? Because it makes, to me personally, no sense for him to leave and then we turn around and pay him contract money to stay. We go stay. You know, I mean, that's just my thinking. And with Mr. Davis, I don't know where he is with everything. I do understand that he has another job and he has another position in the city. But I don't know where he stands as far as if he would be willing to step back in as interim until, you know, or whatever the case may be. I just don't know. But help me out, because
Well, I think that's a muted point, because he started another job, and we can talk about Mr. Davis, but it has to be approved by the city manager. We do know we have some citizens out here, and we have people out here that is looking for us to finish a contract, finish
Correct.
the agreement. So, I mean, he's sitting right there, so he could tell us yes or no, but what else? because, I mean, Mr. Davis, that's kind of mute right now because he started another job. Actually, he started when did he start?
I didn't even
On
know
the
he had
16th.
another
You know,
job.
he's been gone.
Yeah, I
So,
didn't know that.
you know, I mean, do you leave, do you just leave the seat? I mean, what happens to the child customers? Is what
I don't think that'd be
would
good for the
call it. No,
EDC.
it wouldn't. The reputation.
Yeah, I think it definitely won't be a good look to all the people that's doing business with us now. For the future people that want to do business with us, they gonna run because they gonna say there's no structure within the main seat, which is the CEO position. So unless they got some other alternatives, I just don't know none, me personally.
We can't talk to the city manager. I mean, see what he's saying. That's,
Ms. Baptiste, how you feel about all of this?
My, that September 30th is my last day. I think I told most of you guys know I am doing work. I'm going to be doing work for other people. I am going into consulting business. I would not have a problem working for you guys no more than about 15 hours a week, and that's it.
How many hours was that?
15.
My question, would there be enough hours to overlook all these projects?
You
Or
know,
how will we allocate the hours
yeah,
pertaining to the projects?
you know, my deal is a lot of my work is done on the phone, and if I would work for you guys at 15, but I may work 20, 25, but I would just do 15. I'm not going to commit no more than 15 hours a week because I got other things I have to get done. I'm not saying it's going to be 15. It may be 20, 25. I'll get your job done. Okay.
That's all I need to hear. You'll get the job done. I feel comfortable with that.
What about oversight of the building?
That's up to the board.
What's that now?
Oversight.
I don't want to have oversight over it.
That's what I was thinking.
Effective September 30th, I will no longer be a city employee. As I said, I have no problem working for the board and working the projects. And Mr. LaBeouf and Ms. Frank is very right. We got some projects that we have to work. Mr. Harris, but right now I'm saying I will work these projects no more than I work for you guys 15 hours a week, and I'll work those projects.
The city let him do that?
To us, but at what cost?
Okay.
And we gotta figure out a cost. A fair market cost.
or it's overseeing the building. Or it's overseeing the building, the tenants,
I mean,
all that.
employees, day-to-day operation, all of that other stuff. I mean, he's not going to do that part. It's just going to be the contract. So we still have a
Get that.
Position that
we
need to
still
be
have a
filled.
gap.
Let me say this, Chairman, Commissioner. These staff over here, they're pretty much, the way the system is set up, the way we have set up the system here, is each one of these people are responsible for themselves. You know, they have a job to do. They know what they're supposed to do. They manage their own processes. You know, I don't know if you really need somebody to manage these people, their processes, because, you know, they're going to manage their process. That's what they do now. You know, Crystal does the compliance, Renata does employment and training, Rachel does the finance, and you know, Rachel also does the intake on the application. They know the process. There's a process over here, and that process shouldn't, I hope, you know, in the interim, it would not change, you know, and I will still, if you guys wish for me to work 15 hours, I will make sure that at the end, all the T's and I's are crossed. before it come to you guys. You know, that's
Also-
my part of it.
Also, fellow commissioners, you gotta look at this too. There's gonna be a 6-month gap in evaluation period. That's a part of oversight. So we gotta make concessions for that as well. In lieu of Mr. Baptiste, if he's in this role as a consultant, he would have no input into what actually goes on because he's not an employee of the city. So you got a 6-month gap or 8-month gap that we need to take in consideration for the staff that's doing this independent work because they're self-sufficient.
The other thing about that is that there is no one.
Yeah,
I mean, we
We dropped
we're a
the
little
ball,
out.
man.
We're a little late.
Attorney, do you have anything on this? Would you have any input on this? You ever seen this happen before?
I've not seen something similar to this in the EDC. I've actually seen this similar with a city when they've lost its city manager and the previous deputy or assistant city manager had just left as well. And so the issue was, who do we put in charge and so forth? And very much like Mr. Batiste said, a lot of the departments knew how to run their own departments and knew how to do their own issue. The question was, who reports to the council as to the contact person? Same with the board. Who is going to be the person that will be reporting? And that's, the question. So in that instance, what they did is they knew it was for an interim time period, and they actually selected one of the department heads for 60 days while they went out and did the process. Now, they didn't hire the third-party contractor. They simply went to TML and advertised the position and so forth. It was a smaller city. It was able to move faster. They had a lot of special meetings to do the interviews and so forth. It actually took a little longer than 60 days for that interim appointment, but they were able to accomplish it relatively quickly, faster than going through that process. I've not seen it in an EDC, but if you're wanting to move faster, it's going to require more meetings, special meetings, and getting everything done and so forth.
Well, like what you said, would Mr. Anderson, would like Mr. Baptiste do all the paperwork and represent us at the council?
Would have to.
Or you could do that?
I work.
Oh,
Somebody hired would have to do that.
okay, I didn't
Was there a
know.
question to me?
To present what we have to the council at council meetings. Bring
That has-
EDC
that's
to
what you
Port
said
Arthur.
has to be done. The closure.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. What my recommendation to you guys is, I think Mr. Garza right. You take one of the operation person over here and make that person the operation manager of this city during the interim, and I will work with that person. I could work with that person, make sure all the projects are done well, and if I had to go before council, if I am needed to go, I would go. But I think you could take one of the department head here who understand what we do, why we do it, and let that person manage the operation, similar to what Mr. Garza just said. And I will be there at any time they need some help. I will be there. If I had to go before council, I would. Yes, sir.
Any questions, comments, or concerns on this agenda item? What's going to be the motion? Will there be a motion? Say what you're trying to do. Huh?
So George Davis is out the equation. Like, he can't come back though. He off the table. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. What kind of motion would you make in a situation like this? Like, I have no clue. Mr. Attorney, what kind of motion
Just say
would
what you're
we
trying.
make?
Just say what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do. So that's why I want to ask him, what can we do in a situation like this where the CEO is finna leave here shortly, how do we just place someone in his position? Would they require like a change of salary, or would their salary be the same? Or, I mean, you can't expect someone to fill in and keep the same salary they got, so.
Well, here are the things that's on the table. So you kind of help out with where we're going. We have Mr. Baptiste that is willing to keep working with all the contracts that we have open. 15 hours he'll give to us that he'll charge us for, with no oversight in the building, just dealing with the contracts. Then we would have to look at possibly giving someone that's already here the authority to oversight, just to make sure that things are being done the way they're supposed to be done. And that's why we'll go out for the search. So that's kind of the stuff that's on the table, unless there's something that I missed.
That's pretty much it.
I think you summarized it right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mr. Baptiste, if we're considering him as a consultant, he would have to draft up a statement of work. Within that statement of work, it should tell us exactly what his work is going to be, how many hours it's going to be, what his rate going to be. We would have to appoint someone that we feel that can represent our initial interests based on what we approve as a board to what we want to talk to the city, and Mr. Baptiste to be called up by that consultant or that representative to speak on things that he or she cannot speak on, and Mr. Baptiste would fill in the blanks.
Sound like a motion right there. That sound like a motion. Making it to a motion. And I second it. Well, we gotta word it right.
What's the blanks?
Blanks here, we don't know who the person is, so that's pending.
Well,
Well-
we can figure that out.
Well, and
Yeah,
I think that's going to lead to
Yeah.
your item 19 to cancel that meeting. I don't think you're going to be able to cancel that meeting. I think that's the meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the meeting where you find out from staff which one's interested,
Yeah.
which ones are interested.
That's when you go.
That day, y'all could conduct brief interviews of the individuals interested. If there's just 1, 2, or 3, they could, at least state their reasons. And again, working with Mr. Batiste for that 15 hours. Now, the other option, I've seen this before, is for the chair to go back to the city manager to let Mr. Davis borrow him for 6 months, But again, that's another issue. So I don't know if but in this instance, I think if that's the option, based on what I heard the discussion, I think the best option is between now and the 13th, negotiate that term with Mr. Batiste for the consultant aspect of it, and then request from staff who's interested in serving in that oversight of the day-to-day operations until you're able to fill the position.
Because I don't think we're going to be able to solve it all tonight.
No.
No,
Which is
not at all.
But
That's not
at
gonna
least
happen.
we'll have somebody sitting at least answering the calls. It's taking care of the clients.
Because it would be unfair to start trying to interview staff right now, because you just don't know
No.
who's even interested and don't want to let them show that they're interested and then come forward to the board.
Trying to do, because the motion was for an interim chief executive officer. That's kind of off the table.
That's off the table.
So are we just giving directives, or do we need a motion? Is what I'm trying to. We need to make a motion as it relates to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, my recommendation would be there'd be a motion to negotiate with the current executive director to oversee projects for the 15 hours per week, and to request staff to notify the chair if they're interested in serving in that day-to-day oversight position until we're able to fill the position.
That's the motion. I need somebody to move.
I second that.
No, I need the
Well,
person.
I can't make the motion.
Give me the first.
I make a motion that we do exactly what Mr. Garza just said.
That's what I'm talking about.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we move forward with negotiating with Mr. Baptiste for the terms of his contract for the 15 hours a week and exactly what he would do as far as overseeing the projects, and to get with our employees to see who may be interested in running the day-to-day while we look for a CEO. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. What were you saying?
One comment. that means that we would have to amend our budget that has yet to be approved to include that in our budget.
That's what I just said. That's what I was talking about.
Which is why we're gonna have to meet on the 13th.
That's what I said, what you said.
When,
That's why I said.
when you say amend your budget, meaning,
For your contractual services, if the city agrees to what we're proposing, based on what Mr. Garza just made a recommendation and we just second, we're gonna have to amend your costs into our budget because that was not allocated in our budget.
what you have allocated in your budget is the position for the CEO. And, you know, you could make a budget adjustment from your regular pay to a line item that you're gonna, to a contract employee.
Right. You currently have in your budget consulting services and you have salaries. So
Yeah,
I
right.
think your budget doesn't need to be amended, but during the year you may, I mean, you don't have to revise your budget,
Just make
but during the
adjustment.
year, once it's adopted, you may have to amend and move some of those dollars to the others. But I think
Make
you're
it-
fine with your
make it-
current budget.
Yeah, make an adjustment. That's all. Just got it, Chris?
I'm good.
Okay. 5 minutes left in this meeting. Just kidding. Agenda item number 9.
Did we vote? I know there was a motion and a second.
Yeah, we voted.
Okay.
We voted.
And then my only other suggestion is for whomever from staff is interested, for them to contact the chair, and you'll let everyone else know who is shown interest.
Agenda item number 9, to discuss with possible consideration the terms and condition of an economic incentive for infrastructure for the medical facility, for a medical facility.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm gonna ask you guys to table that one. I have been waiting on the city. Normally, when we get an infrastructure project, and this thing been going on for 60+ days, we normally send the infrastructure to the city engineering. The city engineering have not come back with good numbers for us, and I'm not. I do not want to move forward with the numbers that I have right now.
I need a motion to table. Been moved and seconded that we table agenda item number 9. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 10, to discuss with possible consideration an economic incentive for Clifford Distillery. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, sir. This board went out for, this board approved moving forward with an economic incentive with Clifford Distillery. We are requesting that the board make an economic incentive dollar amount of, how much is that amount, Rachel? I think it's 160. $162,500.
I have one question. Are they still thinking about doing downtown? with
Yes,
that?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? May I have a motion, please?
Ma'am. They are looking at the old Jackson building, retrofitting that building for the distillery. Yes.
All right, I have a motion on the floor. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we move forward with the economic incentive for Clifford Distillery. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, to discuss for possible consideration amending the economic development conditional grant agreement with I&C Entertainment LLC to extend the contract by 1 year. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, sir. I&C Entertainment, better known as Walk On. You guys awarded an infrastructure grant to them. They have completed one project. They have not completed the second one. They have the pad poured, but the construction haven't begun because of COVID. And they're asking to extend some time so that they can get this thing done.
And may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
It's been moved and second that we extend the economic development conditional grant agreement with I&C Entertainment by 1 year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 12, to discuss with possible consideration payment of an invoice to Joey's Tractor Service in the amount of $5,005 for grass cut at Jade Avenue Business Park. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, sir. Because the invoice is $5 more than $5,000, I have to come to you guys for approval. I'm asking you guys for approval to move forward pay this invoice.
May I have a motion?
So move.
Have a second? All right, been moved and second that we move forward with paying the invoice for Joey's Tractor Service in the amount of $5,005 for grass cut at Jade Business Park. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 13, to discuss for popular consideration going out for bids for the mowing of Jade Avenue Business Park. Mr. Baptiste.
Yeah, again, we're asking you guys to go out for bid. I think this was the last term. Is that right? Yeah, it was the last, they had a 1 year with a 2-year option. That time has expired. We need to go out for bid again.
Motion.
Second.
Been moved and second that we go out for bids for the mowing of the Jade Avenue Business Park. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 15, to discuss for possible consideration ratifying the approval of DataBox quote in the amount of $9,759 for 549 4th Street. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, again, this had been before the council. It was an emergency deal where we needed 4 additional switches for the building. And we went to the council approved it. We're asking you guys to ratify the purchase of 4 additional switches for the data box.
A motion.
So move.
Been moved and second that we ratify the approval of this quote from DataBox in the amount of $9,759.94 for 549 4th Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 16, to discuss for possible consideration ratifying an amendment to the lease agreement with Lamar State College Port Arthur at 549 4th Street. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. The council did approve the lease agreement with Lamar with the amendment. You guys did not have the amendment in there. The amendment states, I'm not, page 17. No, it's not page 17. What the amendment state is that with a 30-day notice, if they cannot acquire enough students to hold the class, that they could get out of the lease. I don't think that will be a problem. The first class, right now we have 13 students, and it was very little advertisement. I think this thing gonna blow up real quick. But in the agreement, it said if they cannot get enough students to enroll, they would like to come back and terminate the lease. Again, I don't think that will be a problem. I think this thing they're gonna have more students than they need.
Questions? Motion. Been moved in second that we move forward ratifying the amendment to the lease agreement with Lamar State College Port Arthur at 549 4th Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 17, to discuss for possible consideration approving an agreement with the City of Port Arthur for the use of the Jade Avenue Business Park for hurricane recovery. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, sir. Again, at last board meeting, Chief Houston and Chief Haven came before you guys asking for, I think, about 23 acres of land in Jade Avenue Business Park in preparation for future storms. We have an agreement with them, and we have had one in the past, and it is the pleasure of the board if y'all want to enter into an agreement this time.
Mr. Baptiste, weren't they supposed to come back with some data or some numbers or something like that? That's the reason why we tabled it from the last meeting? There was some kind of discovery that we was asking him to come back to us. He had to get some kind of approval. I can't remember exactly what it was, but can you refresh?
It's basically the same agreement that we had when, was it Harvey? The only difference between Harvey's is if we just having it a general disaster, but they're gonna use the same lot, the same area.
Okay.
Everything gonna be the same as last time.
Okay.
The only difference is gonna be, it won't be Harvey.
They're putting it back to the condition that they recently.
Well, I saw move on that.
All right, need a second? Been moved in second that we move forward with the agreement with the City of Port Arthur for the use of the Jade Avenue Business Park for hurricane recovery. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 18, to discuss for possible consideration making application for an economic development administrative grant with EDA. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, sir. I think I spoke to you, the chair. EDA I think I talked to you, the board before. They have an open application right now. The deadline is March the 22nd to get your application in. It's on a first come, first serve. And we ask you guys to look at making an application, a potential application for EDA. There's plenty of money out there. And we do have a pretty good relationship with EDA. If the board so desire, we're gonna move forward with making the application for an EDA grant.
Questions? Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we move forward with making application for economic development administrative grant with EDA. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 19, we just gonna have to take it off the off the table.
Move it.
Remove it because we would definitely have to meet on September 13th. Are you available September?
Well, I was going to ask whether or not I could
Okay.
attend virtually. I don't know if that's a possibility. After September 1st, the governing body can't meet virtually anymore, but I could always attend virtually if that's a possibility. I have a 4 o'clock meeting that day that will be done by 5:30, but there's just no way for me to make it by 6. So
Anyone have a problem with him attending virtually?
The question is that gonna meet the statutes?
I think it's legal. He's saying it.
yeah, no. The governing body cannot meet after September 1st virtually. I am not a member of the governing body, so you can have employees or consultants still attend virtually.
Okay, well, if there's no statute limitation, there's no limitations, I don't see no why not.
All right. So do we need to vote to remove that item, that agenda item, or just let it go?
No action.
No action. All right. So with that being said, thank everyone for coming out and spending your time in the heat with us on this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
All in favor? We're out of here.